será el IPC que conoceremos mañana a las 2:30 de la tarde. Vamos a analizar las perspectivas para la Reserva Federal. Lo hacemos con la ayuda de Ross Gerber, President and CEO at Gerber, Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management. Ross, hello, how are you?
Good, hi, how are you?
Tomorrow's key data will be the US CPI. A year-on-year figure of 8.3% is expected. As has happened in Europe, could it surprise on the upside? Could we see that far from falling, it remains high? What do you think?
Well, I think that inflation has been the issue that everybody's been talking about for quite some time now, and certainly affecting the economies across the world. And the Federal Reserve Bank, as well as the ECB, are starting to raise rates to offset this high inflation. But we're also seeing companies and the economies across the world beginning to slow due to higher pricing and such. So we do think inflation is peaking now and should trend lower over the next couple of years, but this is certainly the high point.
According to the IMF, US inflation could remain above the Federal Reserve's targets for a long time. And the day before yesterday, Janet Yellen acknowledged that she was wrong about the evolution of inflation. What will do the Federal Reserve next week?
Well, I think that the war in the Ukraine, which has created an enormous price spike across the globe for food and fuel, has affected the entire world. So Putin is really exacerbating a food crisis that doesn't need to exist and such. And so the Fed calculated the effects of something that they didn't know was going to happen. And because of these rapid increases in prices, even Fed action won't actually lower oil prices, for example, because it's 100% related to the war and the lack of production coming from, shale players and other OPEC players that could increase production. So I think ultimately the Fed is going to have to aggressively raise rates this summer. So we'll see 250 basis points hikes this summer, and then they'll have to reassess what happens to the economy in September. And I think that's going to be the crucial time for the Fed to make the correct decisions on what will be next going into winter.
Okay, and we're monitoring as well oil prices. They are still at yearly heights. How high are they going to go? Are oil companies such as Exxon, for example, a good bet, or is it too late?
Well, we don't invest in oil companies because oil companies are responsible for the destruction of the environment, and the climate change situation in the world as well as in Europe is dire. And so the solution to high oil prices isn't pumping more oil and hastening the demise of the earth. The solution is alternative energies, and Europe is diving full-fledged into alternative energies and transportation solutions like Tesla, for example, with the new plant in Berlin. So it's so important that economies and politicians across the world embrace alternative energies so that we can break our dependence on horrible countries that supply oil like Russia and Saudi Arabia that we've become completely dependent on. And this has gone on for generations. So this is a great moment, these high oil prices, for the world to take note and start really making a true commitment to climate fighting clean energy solutions.
Maybe instead you can recommend us on investment with a different option of investment, renewable energy or something like that. What do you think about it?
Well, it's Tesla. Tesla is the best company in the world. They just opened a plant in Berlin and in Austin. The China factory is up. They have wonderful solutions for everything from battery production all the way through solar, as well as the fact that we're very close to the advent of autonomy and full self-driving. The car is driving itself through LA now. I'm using it all the time. So Tesla is the single best investment an investor can make who wants to make a difference for the environment and the future of the earth.
And what about your main vision of the US market this week? What do you think about the markets and the equities?
Well, the stock market's been a difficult place over this last 6 months, and we think the valuations have now come down to a point where stocks represent a good value, especially growth stocks. Core companies like Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Tesla. Our core holdings are all very, very cheap in the technology sector. In my fund, GK, we have many of these technology stocks as well as other types of companies, but one of the things that we think as dividends now are rising on many companies and there's lots of value in the market, that investors who have a long-term, perspective, this is a pretty good time to start investing again, and I think the valuations are compelling.
And what do you think of technology stocks? Some say their golden age is over.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal put out an article, and whenever they put out that article, it makes me want to buy more technology stocks because there's nothing more incorrect about the future of America. I've been investing for 29 years and as a professional my entire life. And the one thing that America does so well is technology. We are just inventing and creating amazing new products and services as we speak, from fully autonomous cars and cloud computing to streaming services where we can all watch the same shows across the entire world. So technology is just at the beginning of a whole new stage with the advent of robotics and AI and the way it will shape our society. So I certainly think one would be foolish to believe something like that technology's best days are behind it.
Rely on tech stocks right now. Ross, thank you so much for attending us. Have a nice day. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.